Welcome to Chicago, Illinois. Live from the Acme Hotel. It's very dark. But Michigan is about to take on Northwestern at Wrigley Field. So let's get into that. What's the preview? Right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Holt, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group, here in just arrived into sunny, tropical even, Chicago, Illinois. Thank you to all of you who make us your first listen. We do appreciate that. And thank you so much to all of our everydayers out there. We're going to have a little something special coming up for you eventually here before long. So stay tuned to that. All right, so we're going to get into what kind of we would think would happen, what will happen probably, and then the final preview prediction. That is the plan for today. So let's got my computer off to the side here. It's funny just going anywhere. It just makes things exponentially more difficult. So Northwestern, obviously, it excels at a couple different things. It has an incredible offensive line. Talking to some people behind the scenes in the building, I mean, they've acknowledged they've acknowledged it publicly, but they've also acknowledged it privately. Like, man, they're really good. Really good running back as well. And, I mean, a capable, competent passer, but not much to speak of in terms of a passing game. Preston Stone, who comes aboard from SMU, playoff team last year, certainly can. But I kind of like Michigan in some ways. Like, the best way that I would look at Northwestern and its offense is it's like Michigan light. It's Diet Michigan at this point. Maybe a little less so. Maybe I would say a better offensive line than what Michigan currently has. A worse quarterback. I understand there's a lot of people who are really, unsure about Bryce and his current trajectory. And I'd say a relatively equal run game. Let's go to the numbers real quick. Just going by totals here. And all right, I got it pulled up. Perfect. 97th in total offense. So that's not exactly like much to write home about. Again, remember Michigan. And I've seen some like consternation about some of the things with the passing game and stuff like that. Listen, Michigan has the number 51 offense in the country right now. 51. In terms of total offense last year, just to make it clear. Come on, work. There we go. Michigan was 129th in total offense. Not just passing, total offense. So this wasn't just, the run game carried them and whatever. It's total offense, right? So Michigan is worlds better offensively, despite some of the things not necessarily being, So Michigan's 107th in total passing offense. Obviously, the last two games really kind of, like, they were way above that. Now, I think this is where I kind of draw a line to get the consternation. Because you get people that say that and say, okay, but like, again, Michigan has had stretches where either it couldn't pass the ball, I would say that's more Purdue, or wouldn't pass the ball, that's second half of Michigan State. So yards per attempt is the more important line, and they're 59th in the country. They're not 107th in the country when it comes to yards per attempt. So a lot better when it comes to being able to do things in terms of when they try to pass the ball, better things happen. In terms of yards per attempt, Northwestern, however, 122nd in the country. Not great. But where we see some divergence here is the passing defenses. Not that Michigan's a slouch of any way, but Northwestern is 22nd in the country in passing defense. In terms of yards per attempt, that's because we're going to use it for one, we're going to use it for the other, right? So yards per attempt, it's not as good, 49th, but that does still present something of an area of opportunity for Michigan. Will they take advantage? I'm not sure. Michigan's 21st by the same metric. So, and they faced a lot of, so has Northwestern, but like Michigan has faced a lot of pass-heavy teams. Oklahoma, Nebraska, Washington, USC. Some of those games have gone well and some of them haven't, right? So there's that. It's where the rushing defense comes in. Again, Michigan is very good at rush defense, 12th in the country. Very, very good in terms of that. But Northwestern, you got to scroll and scroll and scroll until you get to them, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a lot easier with my computer in front of me. 64, so they're a little bit more middling. They allow 4.59 yards per attempt. So with that, I am curious to see how this ends up working out, because the way I see it, this should be a little bit more of an opportunity to get the passing game going. But Michigan, as Connor has said time and time again, and I hope that you heed his words as someone who was in the building, as much as you can sit and disagree and whatever, he wasn't in the building since 2023, but he knows Sharon, he understands what Sharon's trying to do, and what the directives are in that team. They aren't trying to win beauty contests. They're trying to win each and every game. Some of that comes with setting some stuff up for Ohio State. Setting stuff up does not mean what, as he said yesterday, it's not this idea of airing it out or like opening up the playbook, so to speak. It's about setting up, like you might run some plays to show a look and then either run that exact look or a variation thereof against Ohio State. So yes, I'd like to see some of that work in terms of the passing concept, but don't be surprised if you don't see like a whole bunch of bootlegs and you don't see a lot of the staples that we've seen from the passing game that's worked so far. I wouldn't be surprised to see them work a little bit trying to get the drop back going. Some RPOs, RPOs have been there, but just more so to see if they can find a way to get some comfortability going in terms of the protections, Bryce, and the running backs, as Connor has said pretty much every week for the last 3-4 weeks. So what should they do? I would say probably that. I don't think you need to, I know people want to see it like, oh man, it was on fire. It looked kind of like how the bowl game looked after the 2007 season, where you're like, where has this been the whole time? Listen, you don't necessarily want that at this point. Like, you want to see improvement, but you don't want to see necessarily where it gets where you're just like suddenly setting a bunch of your playbook on fire well before Ohio State. You just need to be able to go out and win the game, number one, offensively. Defensively, I think as long as Michigan plays the run the way that it is capable of doing, then that's a win. So there's that. You got to stay healthy. Health's been an issue on both sides of the ball. You got to stay healthy. But I think if Michigan just plays the run the way it can, then and finishes drives, then the Wolverines are going to be in a really good spot. That's the way I look at it. Let's continue talking about this game as it comes, right? We're just a little over 24 hours away. Wait, under 24 hours. Forgot time change and computers and clocks and all that stuff change along with it. So let's get more into it. Let's do that here in just a moment. But before we do, it's almost the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Michigan didn't play a game last week, so the most important play for Michigan was just getting healthier. That delivered in a big way, supposedly, as they're tweeting out stuff that indicates Jimmy Rolder is going to be playing in his hometown, and all of that. So when the pressure was on, the Michigan health staff came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, it's hit or miss, to be honest. So just like the Michigan Health staff delivered for Michigan, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks You Save every Saturday that you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only on DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through just 4 more days. November 18th. We got the real Peter McKinnon angle going here. Yes, I have very inspired. If you don't know who that is, he's a Canadian photographer who has got some of the most amazing vlogs and videos ever. And but using a Canon product with a 15-35 lens and being super wide angle, sitting here with like this or whatever. If you're watching, if you're listening, none of this makes any sense to you, and that tracks. All right. So that kind of covers the what. Now, what is the how? Like I said, Northwestern is kind of Michigan light, which means that, yes, they can beat Michigan. However, just to kind of, again, go over things, let's just click in just to make everyone feel maybe a little bit better. The who is Northwestern beat is Penn State. That's it. In terms of like teams that you would look at and say, all right, that would pose a problem. Now, yeah, they did beat Purdue 19-0. Michigan didn't do that for myriad reasons. It was certainly on its way. And obviously the defense was good enough to hold a very talented Purdue team, which I think was having some quarterback issues that game, situationally, health-wise. Holds Purdue to nothing. That shows you what they're capable of, but they also gave up more points to USC at USC. They did score more points though too. So they lost 38-17. Michigan lost 31-13, if memory serves. As far as common opponents, Nebraska was 28-21. That was the game in which Nebraska lost Dylan Raiola, I believe. And those are the only 2 common opponents. And the wins were, and losses. The win and loss were relatively similar, which kind of tells you that they're a relatively similar program. Now, Michigan is more talented. In terms of defenses that they'll see, this is probably the most talented one that they'll have seen outside of maybe Oregon. They lost by 20 to Oregon. They lost to Tulane. They got really destroyed by Tulane earlier in the year. So they have found kind of their formula and their niche. They're sitting at 5-4 on the season at this moment. But again, Michigan has more talent than most of what they've seen. And I'd say like USC is probably the closest as far as talent and that they've faced. Penn State as well. And they obviously beat Penn State, but different scenario with that Penn State game. I mean, they've lost to pretty much any team that is equal or better minus Penn State, which has been on a free fall since that Oregon game. So with that, I think that the Wolverines, they just have to do what it needs to do defensively. And like, I think that people aren't going to want to hear this. I would venture to guess that Michigan will run the ball more than people feel comfortable with, right? Like it's kind of like a revert to type of scenario, I feel. Now, will that happen? I mean, maybe, maybe not. It feels like whenever we think we've got a good handle on what these games are, they end up going a lot different. But I really wouldn't be surprised to see Michigan really revert to type. And like, even though they've said like we don't want to run Jordan Marshall, 25, 35 times, don't be surprised if you see them run 20 and then they run Jasper Parker and Bryson Kuzdzal another 15, right? Like, or just getting them involved in the pass game in just, kind of quick screen type of stuff. But I don't think that you're going to see like any kind of, as long as they can manage the game, I don't think you're going to see anything crazy, right? Like, I think last year it was a little different scenario kind of around this time of the year, right? Like it was a little bit before, but like, busting out the trick plays in order to get the lead against Michigan State. I don't think that you're going to see that, but I also don't think you're going to see like what happened to Northwestern last year in Ann Arbor either. But there does seem to be like just kind of talking to some people, some confidence that you can see a similar like resurgence in this team from that. kind of, because remember, there was no indication that Michigan was going to blow out Northwestern before it did. It felt like two relatively evenly matched teams last year, as a matter of fact. So Michigan was 5-5 going into that game. Northwestern was 4-6. So it wasn't even like particularly that different, right? It just kind of felt like, okay, Michigan probably should win this game and get to the bowl. A bowl game, but like it was no guarantees. It was really like, okay, we're kind of in perilous territory here. And then they beat Northwestern by a far bigger margin than what Ohio State did the week before, and then went on to beat Ohio State, right? So, I think it'll be interesting just to see in terms of game scenario what Michigan's able to do and how much it's able to replicate some of what we saw last year. Now, if it's, it wasn't like a passing game was going nuts all over them, right? Like that just didn't happen throughout the course of the year last year. It would just be interesting to see if they're able to get some of those tight ends involved, right? Like, again, they have a better pass defense. This might be the type of game where, working that seam could really work. I'd love to see some Zach Marshall and Deacon Tonielli in this one, or Hogan Hansen if he's actually healthy. That would be really good news to get him going now. If you can, right? I think that would be huge. I mean, not to write off Marlon Klein, but like we just need to see him power himself up a little bit after what has been some pretty disappointing games from him on that end. But don't be surprised if you see mostly just running the football if they can help it, right? Like deal with the pass when you can deal with it. Like just because you don't see it in games, and yeah, you want Bryce to get confident and comfortable compared to playing scout team, compared to, whatever we don't see. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Like we've seen Michigan, Michigan's, Connor brought this up. Michigan struggled to put away Penn State, Maryland, and then goes and just, that was a closer, I'm thinking 2023, but that was a closer game against Ohio State. The year before, there was no indication that Michigan was about to dominate Ohio State in 2022. No, none. Like not like people looked at it and said, well, maybe they can win. Yeah, but everyone was acting like, and Ohio State was as well, like it was a foregone conclusion that everything was going to be righted. So it's not about seeing what you want to see as much as like maybe like just Bryce being a little bit more comfortable. Obviously you want to see over 100 yards passing. You'd prefer to see closer to 200. But if you don't see it, it's not the be all end all. And I just kind of knowing how those minds think inside of Schembechler Hall, don't be surprised if it looks more like 150 passing, 250 rushing, if they can help it, compared to 250, 150 the other way around. That's kind of my general thought. And as far as the other side, I think it's going to be really difficult for Northwestern to get much going against Michigan. Now, will they run a lot of the delayed handoff type of stuff that's worked in terms of running the football against Michigan? I would assume you're going to see those in screens, right? Like teams are just going to try. But I think having the bye week is going to be really good proven to have been really good for Michigan. That's going to be my guess. And that the defense is kind of now at that level that I think that they'll be in a pretty good spot. This is not the same as facing Purdue 2 weeks ago, where I kind of expected that they were going to have some success. They did. I mean, it wasn't crazy over the top success. It might have felt like it in the moment. But I think that it will be a scenario where I just think that they're going to have a hard time scoring. And let's just see real quick. Just go back. The most Northwestern has scored on a power opponent so far this year. On a power opponent is 22 against Penn State. They had 14 against Oregon, 17 against UCLA, 21 against Nebraska, and 17 against USC. I think that this is probably maybe tied with Oregon as the best defense that they'll face. And I think Michigan's a little bit more prepared than maybe Oregon was at that point in week 3. So I think that you're going to see something, not a season low, but like the least they've scored was 2 against Tulane. They only scored 3. So I think you're going to see something more just lower than what they've been able to do, just because that would track, I think. So, all right, what is my final score prediction? What do I think is actually going to happen? Let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's finish up here. I have no idea. The way these cameras run time code and these cinema cameras, I have no idea where I'm at. I have no idea how long this show is. It's kind of like if I was doing the show in the car, which I was planning on doing, and then I decided I'd rather just get it all done in one fell swoop. I'm getting here early enough. Let's just do it that way. All right. So what do I think, we kind of covered a little bit of what I think is going to happen in terms of, I think that Michigan's probably not going to pass as much as you're going to feel comfortable with. I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to run probably more than you're comfortable with. And I think the defense will do its job. I think one underrated thing here is this is on a grass field. And that does play a difference. At least it has for a lot of past Michigan teams, where it's like you see them play a certain way on turf and a different way on grass. Now, this is the third game, I believe, on grass. Oklahoma, I'm pretty sure, was on grass. And Michigan State was on grass. So that'll be interesting to see, because Northwestern generally does play on grass. It's not just because it's at Wrigley Field. I'm definitely looking forward to just... It hasn't really hit me that they're playing in an iconic baseball stadium. And it's funny because this is the first time that, I'm going to be seeing Michigan playing at some place that is just kind of against type, right? You get used to, I was at Jerry World in 2017. I've been to all of the bowl games from 2016 forward. But, there's been very few games that aren't, outside of type. So this is kind of the first where it's playing a game against a team that Michigan would normally play, and it's at a different kind of venue. I think it's exciting, despite the fact that, I think crowd can play a factor here. And I think will be certainly a very heavy Michigan crowd. It would be really interesting to see, to have played this on the Lakeshore. But I think wind can be a factor in terms of, going for it, throwing the football, all those types of things. It'll be interesting to see. I've only been outside and here in Chicago for a grand total of about 3 minutes walking from parking garage around the block to the hotel here. And I don't know. And, but it is going to be nicer weather. I think it's going to be overcast and 65. Those types of things will play a role. I'm going to go with, until Michigan kind of shows that it can finish, I feel like this is just going to continue to be a somewhat frustrating team. And, maybe those frustrations end in an Ohio State loss. Maybe they don't. It's very hard to predict for all the reasons that we've talked about, whether it's me solo or, Connor. And I know some people, if they lose to Ohio State, they'll be like, see, I predicted it. And it's going to be like, okay, but you were throwing at a dartboard most of the time, right? I'm not saying everyone, but there's a lot of you out there who just say, I saw struggles, therefore always struggles, therefore lost to Ohio State. Hasn't exactly worked out that way. Styles make fights. This is against in this one. So I'm just curious to see how this ends up. So I'm going to go with Michigan in this one. I'm going to say Michigan wins 21-10. Then I think it's not going to necessarily feel close, but it's going to still have people feeling come on, right? Pick it up. That's my prediction. It's not going to necessarily feel much. And watch, I've been wrong on pretty much everything when it comes to predicting the over-under. The score, whenever I pick the under, Michigan goes over. Whenever I pick the over, Michigan goes way under. So I don't know what it is offhand, but that's where we're going to go. All right, that's going to do it for us today. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back on Monday as we preview or recap this game, preview Maryland and all of that. So we will talk to you again soon. Peace.